This is StoryRobot. Welcome to r/IDontWorkHereLady. Our first story of today is, I do work here but not for you. I work in IT contracting and specialize in quality control and software testing, and this happened about 10 years ago. I was hired by a company client as a member of their governance team. Basically, we were to assess the company they hired, big tech, to create their software and their testing standards and plans. Governance teams are hard to utilize correctly and only any good if the person you report to understands. Client was my customer and Alan was my boss from the company. So they decided to change our role to working directly with big tech on their test teams to watch what they were doing and bring up any issues to Alan. I am packing up to leave one day and big tech project manager appears out of nowhere and asks to have a meeting. Never spoke to the guy before, but I knew who he was. A bit surprised, I asked if it could wait till tomorrow as the day was over, and he said that is one of the things I need to discuss. A bit miffed, I agree. So we going into a meeting room with windows where you can still see the office floor. He asks me to look out on the office and tell me what I see. No idea what he wanted me to say. I was a bit doubt-founded, so said, people working. He nods his head repeating it and then asks why I am not with them and was going home and why I was not dressed appropriately for a client's site and so unprofessional. Now I see the issue. He obviously thinks I work for him and not the client directly. I explain that I have done my work for the day, and does he expect me to stay doing nothing? He goes into a long-winded explanation of how the longer we are in the office the more they have to pay. Intrigued, I asked, does that mean I would get paid more, or is it I should do unpaid overtime so big tech make more money? He explained I was a salaried employee and should be grateful for the experience I was getting with their world-class company. I ask again then, if I have no more work should I stay to charge the client more, and what should I do while I have nothing to do? He is getting a little frustrated with me and his tone is getting more aggressive and said I should just look busy while I stay late. That is when I said, you aren't my boss, I work for client and Alan is my boss, not you. Alan was the person he reported progress and billing to. I was hired to make sure big tech were accurately creating the software and not overcharging client. You have just outlined how you are overcharging and tried to reprimand me for not taking part. You accused me of being unprofessional and not dressing professionally. My belief is, you are acting unprofessionally and it doesn't matter what you look like, and your insistence of the appearance of being busy to hide inaction illustrates this. You also appear to be taking advantage of your employees, and importantly you do not know who does and doesn't work for you. He freaked out completely and started asking if we could keep this among ourselves, and that if I badmouthed the company I would affect my chances of getting work in the future as they are so big. Explained it would not be very professional of me and that I would be accurately reporting on what was said. Asked was there anything more he wanted to discuss as he called this meeting, and I normally charge for overtime because I don't like to be taken advantage of. Then I left the room laughing, telling he may have some things to explain tomorrow. When I arrived the next day, he wasn't in his office, which was very unusual as he was there first thing in the morning and last in the evening. I open up the calendar and look up big tech meetings and see PM has cancelled all his meetings for the day. I ring my boss and ask does he know why PM is not in today and we should have a meeting. He is up for the meeting but said PM has had some family emergency and a new person was going to the PM in the next few days. We have our meeting and I explain what happened. He was furious. He wanted the names of the people who were staying late and just surfing the net. Now I work side by side with these people and knew they didn't have any choice. Explained they weren't the issue, but being forced to stay by big tech made them stay, and that they were actually good at the work and realistically replacing them would stall the project. So he decided to get the timesheets and billing together. Suddenly all the billing reports were password protected and they couldn't get in touch with PM due to the family emergency. Lot of reports gone missing from SharePoint, all with the PM's name showing very late hour. He asked me to try and find the information while he contacted big tech to explain what is going on. As I am looking through SharePoint I notice that PM is still logged in and actively deleting files. So I contact the security section to kick him out of the system and get backups of SharePoint. Go to my boss's office and he is on the phone to big tech and he puts it on speakerphone and tells them I am on the call. He explains that big tech can't contact PM due to the family issue. So I point out he was just on our network deleting files 20 minutes ago. Silence is deafening from the other end. Tell them the files deleted and password protected now are all being restored and we would have them in a couple of hours. More silence. My boss then says, are they concerned about the content of these files and why is PM logging on to their servers deleting files? More silence. I could go into the whole thing, but basically piles of documentation proving overcharging. The PM had been too stupid to understand the client's SharePoint was not his big TECS SharePoint because you know they have the same name. He was not having a family emergency, shocker right, and they were hiding him and letting him resign with a package. Now everyone knew what happened, and you would think the staff of big tech would hate me, but the opposite happened. They were told not to do any overtime without 3 signatures for approval from the client. It effectively stopped all overtime and made them all very happy. I have met many of them since on other projects, and they still thank me for getting PM out of the way. He did get other jobs but let go several times because for all his talk of being able to get projects over the deadline, he had no ability and would just tell people to work longer hours. That is not sustainable and doesn't address problems with specifications and design issues. Our second story of today is, I'm just the delivery guy. A little backstory: I work for a freight company, FC, and my job is to drive around town in a semi-truck with a 28-feet trailer with a lift gate on it and deliver items on pallets that are too big for normal mail trucks. So I'm delivering an industrial dishwasher to a new restaurant. I have to squeeze my truck through the alley to the back door like normal. I'm too big to park on the side of the road. I go in and the manager politely says, "We can't take that today. I was told it was supposed to come in 2 days and I just don't have the room." I said, "No problem, I'll bring it back in 2 days." I load it back up and leave. Which, by the way, is not easy to do because it weighs 700 pounds. Fast forward 2 days. I'm back behind the restaurant, so I lower my lift gate, open my door and head inside with the paperwork I'll need to show the customer. I look around inside and find an employee that takes me downstairs to locked door where a man, rude owner, comes out of and immediately stares at me and repeatedly interrupts while I say my opening line, "Hello, I'm ME from FC, I have." "What do you want?" Yeah, I have your dishwasher." He abruptly walks away, so I follow him into the kitchen area, where he starts barking orders. So I need this dishwasher pulled out, that electrical line replaced, the feed and drain lines replaced, and you need to take the old one with you. This was supposed to be done yesterday and we open in 2.5 hours. Obviously I'm confused, so we share an awkward stare for what seems like an eternity until he breaks the silence with a, "Well." I realize what's happening here, so I say, "Sir, I don't know if someone told you the wrong information, but I'm not the installer. I'm just here to drop it off." He didn't like that. "I don't care what you're here for, I need this done now." All I can muster is, "Sir, if you need it installed you're going to have to call a plumber." He then throws a fit and yells at me saying to get it down there before he calls my boss. This is where I get evil. "You see, we have to get a signature on a delivery receipt to complete the delivery." Well, I had him sign it before this all happened. So I go the 150 yards and 2 staircases back to my truck, get in the back and lift the pallet with pallet jack. At 700 pounds it's hard to move it with even that. I drop it to the asphalt, load my jack back up and leave. As I leave I see him come running out waving his arms, and I keep going. An hour later, I get to the yard and my boss, Uncle, says, "Got a call from RO, he's pissed." Then he sticks his hand up for a high five, "Nice one." Moral of the story: don't be rude to people who have the power to make your day terrible. Thank you for watching. Error. Problem detected. Not enough subscribers. Please subscribe, like and comment.